on the beat.
Welcome to the Supercoach Take podcast. It is round 5 now, so still not even a quarter of the way through the season. And it's been an interesting year so far, so a lot to discuss. On the agenda this week, we're going to talk upgrade targets. Do we cut a few rookies early? And rookies coming up as well. So there's a lot of really nice upgrade targets I think we can look at. But yeah, for myself, I scored 2,238 and Interrank 111. A little bit of luck this week for me. Unlike my co-host, Eno, how are you and how'd you go?
Hey mate, how are you? Thanks for rubbing it in. 5 weeks down. Look, it can be in a lot worse positions after 5 weeks for me. You're flying, so it's good to see. Reward for all work you put in. This is probably your favourite thing, Supercoach. So no, it's good to see. It's good to see. I've had a few things not go my way, but that's fine. You know, as I said, you can be in a lot worse positions. Ridley injured, which saw you benefit a lot from that. Was bad. Brayshaw, obviously, we've spoken about previously, but he was good this week. Waterman on field, I mean, copped that over the row, so can't complain about that stuff. You know, that's just rookie roulette, so you can't really get too down about that. But 130, I think, so 2,800 overall, which, yeah, is fine. Bit of a down week overall for sort of our community. I think we had 15 of top 20 or something like that, but now it's like 13 in the top 30, so a bit of a drop for a few of our leagues, but I think that's, you know, a lot of Ridley with our community, and no Stewart and sort of Walsh, who went large this week, and some other players, so we'll bounce back. As he said, it's only, I think I saw JD say in his video last night, you know, we've had 5 rounds and last year there was 17 rounds, so technically we've got a full 2020 season left to play, so there's time.
Plenty of time, yeah. So we got 13 out of the top 30 now, but I think last week we had 12 of the top 25. But I think we've kind of dropped out of the top 15, 10-ish, so a lot of them have dropped down to the lower end of that. But it's okay, plenty of time. And yeah, our Stewart and Walsh ownership is a bit low. And we all traded in Ridley except for me, and you guys got punished for it. So yeah, it sucks, but not much we can do. For the first topic for today, we'll discuss is trades remaining. Should we have saved a few trades by now? Which is interesting because it's a different year, because I feel like with Zeeble and Impey, we might be able to be a bit more aggressive this year, which is what I've done. So yeah, saved 2 trades in the first 2 rounds, which I think has been really good. But since then, I'm just trading like non-stop. But I can actually see myself holding a few trades because I've done an early upgrade this week. I'm going to be stuck in a kind of position where I don't have the cash to do an upgrade, so I might save a trade or 2 over the next 2 weeks. But I currently have, you know, after trades this week, I'll have 22 remaining and eight upgrades left, including Gieth and Atkins. So I think I'm in an okay position. So I think I should have enough trades to finish a team. So are you worried about finishing a team, or if you've used too many trades, or what are you thinking?
I'm not worried about finishing a team. Maybe in the sort of the near future, there's not a lot of rookies coming up that we can see, so it's probably a good time. Like, you're probably in a good position to hold after this week. You know, get Jones, which we think might be, he's probably not a must-have, but he's probably the number 1 rookie downgrade this week. And then, you know, there's McRae next week, so it doesn't look like we might get some debutants this week, but yeah, I see it's a good little maybe 1-2 week period to hold a few trades, unless you have any obviously injuries we'll speak about later, or, you know, must-have rookies, or there's a rookie maybe like Campbell or someone like that you think are just done and you need a downgrade. So, you know, that's the only reason I would be trading. But yeah, I mean, you're sitting a bit better than me with making an upgrade, and now I'm Ridley down, so it's working pretty well for you. And if I was you, I would be holding where you could in the next couple of weeks, and then attacking again when some more rookies sort of top out. So that's sort of where I sit on at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like, do I want to get rookies off the field now, or do I want to squeeze a bit more money out of my rookies? I reckon I'm happy to cut rookies a bit short. Like, I cut Jordan this week, big mistake. But also cut Campbell, which I think has worked out okay. He seems to have hit a wall. We'll speak about the Sydney rookies after, but I think, I'm happy to cut rookies a bit early, but hopefully I don't get punished for it. But I just feel like we have abundance of trades. but they'll dry up pretty quickly as we start using them a lot more in the next few weeks. So yeah, I think my focus is still getting rookies off the field. So we can discuss the 2 injuries in defence. Ridley's the main one, especially, I mean, I'm just outside the top 100, and I think about 85% or something of people above me had Ridley, so got a lucky break there. And Dan Houston. So the update on these two, so Ridley is concussion, as far as we know. Has that been officially ruled? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So with that, he'll obviously miss Anzac Day, which sucks for everyone probably, but yeah, especially owners. But yeah, that sort of hurts. So he'll be out, and then I think Houston has been confirmed that it's like no damage. So he's not obviously guaranteed to play this week, but he'll be a test as far as I'm aware. So
these players are a hold.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you have both, but.
It's at least Cozzy's come back and Highmore's a chance. So, would you, if you had both, would you trade one if that meant avoiding a donut?
To avoid it, obviously we need to hear more on Houston. Like if he misses this week, is it going to be just one, or is it it's going to be two? Obviously, if he plays, that's great. Benching both and then having to obviously you'd need to know if Highmore's back. And then fielding sort of like Chapman. Some people could be fielding like Chapman and getting Lockie Jones, field Highmore, and then maybe even Cozzy as well. It just, if you had those two, it's a real mess. Hopefully you've got Laird maybe obviously in defence, so you're not sort of left caught out. But, man, because you'd have to know more in Houston, because if it's only 1 week, like Ridley will only be 1 week. You don't trade 1 week injuries,
no.
Especially the top 6 primos, which Houston was looking like he was going to be. So, no, I wouldn't trade, but obviously to avoid a donut, I always hate copping donuts.
Yeah.
I've done it maybe only once or twice ever, but they're probably only in the ruck as far as I can recall. Would you?
It's hard. I think we should all be able to figure it out. Like if you had both, because Lockie Jones is coming in, I think you should be fine. It's like, if Highmore doesn't play, would you go Highmore to Jones? I don't really want to do that. It's a bit of a hard one. I think I'd actually trade one if I had to cop a donut.
It'd obviously be Houston, but you'd need to know more on his injury, obviously.
Yeah.
If he's missing the 1 week and you find that out, because it's good. I don't have a Thursday game this week, so we'll sort of know. Although Port, damn, they're the last game in the round. I just looked, so you won't know.
Yeah. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, I guess the backup plan would be just Houston to Jones, probably.
No, I think you'd go straight to a primo. And get Jones as well.
Sunday game. Damn, not sure.
Actually, that could be a worst break emergency sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think regardless, I think most people don't have both. If you do, it's terribly unfortunate. But they're holds. Wouldn't be trading them.
Yep.
So we'll move on to defender targets. So Ridley and Houston are out. And these are 2 plays that if you don't have them, I would be targeting in the next few weeks, because both will come down. And we have a few plays to go over here. The first player I'll go over, I feel personally responsible for, is Jack Bowes, who had a slightly off game. So a few people are asking me, they need the reassurance. Maybe, I don't know if they tailed me on the pick, or maybe they just like the pick themselves. But with Daniel out, it seemed like not certainly not an obvious trade, but because Bowes was cheaper than most of the other alternatives, a lot of people went for Bowes. What I will say on Bowes, so I put this on Facebook this morning, but this is what I said as to why I picked Jack Bowes. So it's his first preseason training in defence. He was drafted as a mid-forward, and last year he trained as a midfielder and then ended up in defence for whatever reason, out of necessity. Played well in defence, averaged 84 back there. Now he's had a full preseason in defence. He's taken a leadership role down back, which means that they need him down back. The new rules, more kick-ins should help him. He's in his draft profile, his kicking efficiency was very good, one of his standouts. And he was pretty high on most people's draft boards. So the talent is there. It's just that he's unproven a little bit. given 1 year of 84 average, he's got to take another step. While he's shown some good signs, it's only one bad game. I get why there is some doubt, and I am slightly concerned, but 4 out of 5 games he's been very good in terms of scoring, and even this week was 82 Dream Team. So also a lot of his points were in the fourth quarter when the game was dead. So that's where the Dream Team points started ticking over, and the Supercoach score did not really move. So that's my justification for Bose. I'm not certain he'll be okay, but I think it's far too early to say this was a bad pick. Do you have any thoughts on Jack Bose?
I got him in this week for Daniel, but I'm not concerned. Like you said, he's still at 82 Dream Team. The Dogs hog the points. They have a win like that. I think it was 70-9 at halftime. Like, they just dominated early, and Bose didn't really get a lot of his touches early. Doggies kicked 11-4. Only 4 behinds in the first half. I don't think Bose got one of those kickouts, whether he was off the ground for a couple or, Will Powell, I think it is, takes a couple. Just wasn't in the position to get any. So he's not the 100% kick-out like a Ridley or, some other guys, but he's still, Zeeble. Yeah, he'll still get a few. And I think his average will fall somewhere in the 95 to 105 sort of rate. Like, it's not going to be 115 like we thought. And it's not going to be, 70, 80 like this game shows. It's going to fall somewhere in the middle. And I'm not too worried about it going forward. Like, probably not locked in top 6, but it'll be around the mark. And I don't think that's too bad for 5, what I got him at. So definitely more worries than that. If you're super upset by the buys, I guess, flick him then. But I think he'll be fine.
I hope so. I think so. I was more concerned to see Lukosius take a few kick-ins. Something we can reassess over the next few weeks, but certainly not a priority right now. Still has that floor of 84 average last year, so...
and Markov had a really good game too, so... he'll bounce back, I think.
So I wouldn't upgrade to him. I think you could if you wanted to, but there are proven options that are probably safer, if that makes sense. So the 4 I've written down here that I would get in, Jaden Short, obviously had didn't get much of the pill because no Richmond defender got any of the pill against the Saints. Luke Ryan's an interesting one. Stewart had a career game this weekend, so I think I always hate getting players off their best games. And also Jake Lloyd's come down a bit. These are the 4 I would definitely target. These are proven guys. Short's a little bit less proven, but I think he's done enough to be a proven player. Do you have any preferences out of defender upgrades at the moment?
Lloyd is still 600k, and I think his break even's like 150, so he will still come down slightly. That pick it's probably been alright to not go with him from the start. I mean, it has. Obviously, he'll come down a bit more. Dawson's taking kickouts. He's sort of 120s that we were used to. Probably won't be as often, and he'll fall sort of 105, 110 average, which, look, you can't hate starting that, but it's just starting it at 650k. It doesn't seem, as appealing as it was. Shorty's, he's fine. Like you said, that game, that was just, a training drill, and it just wasn't near him for most of the second half. So,
just quickly, that was the worst performance of the year.
I thought 2 weeks ago was bad. That was worse. That was worse. Don't know what's going on with them. Not really sure. Jack Steele can't carry them on his own. Yeah. So, I mean, as far as in order, he'd probably still be my number 1. Luke Ryan's an interesting one. Finally had a really good game for the season. He's obviously a great player. He had a super year last year. Just not sure. I mean, Nathan Wilson's coming in, and he sort of was killing Hayden Young a bit, but he takes a lot of kickouts and possessions back there. But he gets a lot of his points from marks too, so he did a lot of that in the weekend, which was good to see.
I watched the game, and I watched the second half actually because I was watching a Jake Paul fight.
Was he playing on Frampton, wasn't he?
He was playing on McAdam for a large majority. And McAdam just got absolutely towed up.
Yeah.
Every time it was 1v1, Luke Ryan contested mark, contested intercept or whatever.
Yeah.
So that just, his points just kept going up and up and up. I do slightly worry about his durability. I know he's had minor things and he still plays most games, but it was only a week or 2 ago he played through calf tightness. So that's enough for me, it might be nothing to other people, but for me, that's enough to say, okay, I'll let that one go for now. But he definitely has a high ceiling. I still prefer Short and Lloyd out of this lot. Maybe, I mean, Stewart's still fine. I didn't start Stewart because of minor durability issues, and again, I'm very precious with this sort of stuff. And I don't like getting players after career games. But I still think all four options are completely fine, and I think going the route of the proven guys is pretty bulletproof. So I think any of these players are fine, but Short's a bit cheaper, I guess, and having had an off game given the circumstances, so should bounce back. So I think Short, given price, I think I like Short the most out of this lot. But possibly the lowest proven ceiling, if that makes sense. But yeah, there are reasons for everyone, but I think we agree we like the Short pick. Now we can move on to the midfield. The midfield, I think for the past few weeks, I think we're all kind of figure out, okay, who do we want our midfield to finish our team? We want Neale, maybe you like Bont. There's a few others. You want Steele as well. It's probably not as simple as just getting the players you want, because all of a sudden, a lot of these players these are expensive upgrades. And also, for example, do you want like Jack Steele right now for $650? It's a lot of money. It might put you behind on upgrades instead of going for, say, 2 500k players up forward or in defense. So it's a lot to weigh up. We'll go over all these options, but the first player we'll speak about is Lachie Neale. Do you believe it's too early for Lachie Neale? Or would you be happy to go for him at 580k with a break-even of 98 now?
I personally do. Look, I'll be honest, I didn't catch a lot of the game on a Saturday night, but it's one game. Obviously, he said during the week, his first full week of training for a while. He's had a good game in the wet at home against. Look, Essendon is bad, I think, as their record suggests, but it's probably fairly simple for him. And I think JD said on his video I watched this morning that Archie Perkins was on him for the majority of the game, which is like a third gamer. So we saw in round one, Mills take it to him and really punish him. I just would like to see. I know his break even sort of turning around now because it was a 160 score, and it's almost like, oh, do we have to get him now before he skyrockets up again? I would be waiting, and just you want to see at least 2 or 3 weeks of him, back at his best or somewhat close to it. And one game for me doesn't do it. So I think it's Carlton this week. Ed Curnow probably goes to him. So let me get a look at him then, and then go from there.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. JD made a good point with Perkins on him. But yeah, it's pretty much his first game that he's put together 4 quarters. So it seems like everything's just getting better for him. Every week he's getting better. But again, it's like, I just want to know for sure. Like, is he a chance to be rested at some point? It doesn't seem like it, but it's not completely out of the question, I guess. Give me a guy who's 100% fit. Pretty simple.
Yeah. So
the next bunch of players we'll go over the cheap option, which is Brayshaw, Walsh and Oliver as well, looking pretty nice this year, and Christian Petrarca, who's a very interesting one, and I'm really keen to talk about him because I was very keen on him in the preseason. But yes, some things have changed with him, but we'll speak about him in a second. So the first player we'll speak about is Andrew Brayshaw. So he's had 315 plus scores when not tagged, and the coach was pretty much slammed the rest of his team for not helping Brayshaw when he was tagged. In I think it was around 3 and 4. I like Brayshaw a lot. Time and ground was pretty good. I think it was like 77. So for him, that's good. So he's around that high 70s, low 80s mark.
First half it was sort of low, and then he just finished out. I think he played like almost the whole last quarter.
He did start off the bench at times.
Yeah, and then he just sort of come on. It was like that what Dunkley was doing for the first few weeks. But yeah.
I'm a big fan of Brayshaw, and for 480k, I think if things work out, I think I'll go for him in 1 or 2 weeks. I like the way he plays. He runs out games pretty well. 17 contested he had on the weekend, albeit it was against the Crows, who have a few pretty inexperienced overall midfield. I like it. For 480k, there's a lot of upside with Brayshaw. My only concern is consistency over a full season. We saw him late last year a few up games and then down games. So his first half last year was much better than his second half. But I do like him though. 480k, I think he can easily go 105 plus from here. I know you already have Brayshaw, but how are you feeling about Brayshaw, the pick right now?
I'm fine with it. Obviously, the only worry is just teams that Freo come up against now. He's sort of the go-to tag option, it would seem. Monday, he's absolutely flying, but he's not a man you would tag, although teams should probably start looking at it. He's absolutely killing it. And then 5-star as well. And he's probably one of the hardest blokes to tag in the last 10 years. Every time he's been tagged, either he'll beat the tag in the midfield or he'll go forward and dominate. So he's a guy that's sort of untaggable. And Brayshaw just seems the likely type. He's their next, best midfielder. So that's the only worry down the track that I haven't actually had a look at the fixture, who's coming up.
No, he's got no tags coming up, I think, in the next month or so.
The only one is North this week. Apparently, Kane Turner's been trying to tag. For some reason, went to Selwood on the weekend, but I wouldn't be too worried about Kane Turner. So, yeah. Other than that, I think he's great. I think he had a lot of important touches at the end of the game, sort of when Freo were pushing ahead. So, he's majorly involved. And he does get involved in those sort of cheap chains, from around the wing and from D50. So, great player. 480 is probably an absolute steal. So, he would be my number one if sort of cash, was maybe short or whatever. But I think the next bloke we'll talk about is probably the number one if you were to pick.
Yeah. So Sam Walsh, I'm bringing him in this week, fairly confident. I usually backtrack on my Monday trades, but so far so good. I'll keep Walsh, I think. So his disposal has been really good for almost like a year now. Just the early rounds of last year was a little bit off, and draft year, or his first year was a little bit off. His disposal is really good, works really hard, gets possessions everywhere. They're number one midfielder, not just inside midfielder, but like midfielder in general, or player. Yeah, by a mile. I like him a lot, and he's been very consistent throughout his career at any level, junior level, AFL level. So I think he's done enough to convince me, and I think he was a top 5 player in terms of scoring in the back half of last year. I think he's done enough for me. I do wonder, I don't think he has tags coming up, but I think it's coming at some point. So I do wonder how he deals with that. But he's just so consistent, and the durability factor is so huge as well. So I'm all in. I think he's 568. I think that's still relatively cheap for his ceiling. So I'm very happy to go for Sam Walsh this week. Is he someone you're looking at in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. We might look back at this sort of area, and obviously I was spewing not getting him instead of Brayshaw 2 weeks ago, but we might be looking back going, damn, we should have got Sam Walsh at 550, 560 because he may be 600 and plus for the entire rest of the year. So, definitely probably just a number one target all around, I would say, this week. Brayshaw sort of, I guess, second because of the price, but yeah, he looks super good. 140 in a loss. I mean, the proof is there now that it doesn't matter what Carlton's doing, how bad they're going, which probably will be for a little bit longer, but he will show up and he will put his 100% effort into the game and do his best to try and get them even close to winning. So yeah, great player. And I just looked, I don't see any tags coming up at all. It's like Geelong and round 18 or something is the only one I can really see. So yeah, superstar.
Big fan of Walsh. Yeah, I think as you said, JD made the point in Discord a few days ago where I think the first 2 games Carlton were like flogged. I think we played pretty poorly, and Walsh scored just fine. So he scores, as you said, scores well any circumstances, wins, losses, no dramas. The only player I would take over Walsh if I didn't have him right now is, given they're kind of similar price, I think.
Yeah, about 20K.
Is Clayton Oliver.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really to say on Oliver. He's got Gawn tapping to him. He's a dominant midfielder. I'm very happy. Look, he's already copped a tag. So did he cop 2 tags or 1? I can't remember.
He got 1.5 sort of thing. He obviously got lucky with that De Boer getting injured, but then he did get mock the week after, Mark O'Connor, and then he sort of broke through that one as well. So yeah, you get him at 590 because of that sort of first tag where he scored 60, I think, or something. So if you don't have him for whatever reason, you just snap him up now because
Get him now in the
he
next
won't
2 weeks.
he won't be below 600 ever again. I wouldn't imagine.
Yep. The next player is Christian Petrarca. So Christian Petrarca is an interesting one because he was someone I was really keen on early in the season. Loved his work in the preseason, but he might be a dream team pick this year. And I don't know if this trend continues, but his kicking has been really poor. He's kicked a few out in the falls this week. And I was looking at comparing his stats from this year to last year, and it's a lot more uncontested than contested stuff, which is weird because I thought Petrarca was, when played pure midfield, if Petrarca was played like 85% midfield, he would be the number one contested player in the league, probably. Maybe Dunkley ahead of him, I'm not sure. But yeah, so also probably the explanation as to why he's not that 115 plus he was last year and currently 105. Now, does that change as the season goes on? Maybe, but he's one that I'm happy to just give some time to, and still trying to figure out if I want him in the final team. Do you have any thoughts on Petrarca?
Well, we did finally cop the tag that, us Clary owners were sort of waiting for it to go to track. But, I mean, again, it was James Warple who did get Brayshaw the other week, but track's too big for him. And track to me sort of seems like he's almost sort of untaggable because he's another one of those guys that just can go forward and kick a couple of goals. I think it's just his disposal, it's just been pretty poor. He's just having a few big clanger games and 50% efficiency that's just sort of limiting his ceiling, which maybe last year, shorter games, sort of, not as many touches to sort of stuff up that he just was scoring a bit better. But yeah, he can definitely average 110 for like a period of time. So later in the year, I think he's one to look at, maybe our last sort of mid or a couple of mids, because he sort of will put in a poor score at some stage, you imagine, where he just has a day where he butchers everything. And Ds are flying at the moment, so you would expect him to sort of be higher than 105. So maybe when Ds do, they're not obviously going to lose some games at some point. It's sort of when the poor score will come and we can sort of get him at a reasonable price. But it's got to depend how your buys are going too, because a lot of D's players, they share a pretty poor buy with a lot of other teams. So you got to look at that as well.
That's a good point. So yeah, I think just wait on Petrarca, but wouldn't be surprised if he like explodes for a period, but just not exactly happening for him at the moment. But that's a good point as well. With he's only averaging 105 in D's wins. So, expect that to, maybe that comes down a little bit for the time being, but then hopefully he fixes his kicking it.
Yeah, exactly. So it might like sort of level out. Who knows?
Yep. Okay, the next two players we'll briefly touch on is Steele and McRae. 650k upgrade right now feels pretty painful because it might put you behind on upgrades, just because of how much money they are. If you didn't have Steele or McRae right now, would you be getting them in?
I think I said it last week. You've got to just at least have one of them. And McRae would still be the pick for me. I know you're a big Steele guy, but it's surely still McRae's the man.
Yeah, I can see that.
He looks the number one mid, every bit of it. Like on the weekend, I know you sort of had a bit of an offset though, but that started that game, he started off the ground, and Dunkley was on about 30 points because he started in the midfield before McRae even got on the ground. And then by quarter time, McRae was on 40. He had like 12 touches. And you're like, what? This guy's just
each other.
It's just ridiculous. Like, they're just crazy. So, yeah. If you didn't have McRae, man, it'd be hard to get him. I don't know how you would do it. So,
I think you probably got to get McRae in and wait on Steele.
Yeah, that would be my go. Yep.
But I do like that Steele actually will have a ruckman from now on now. Which
Ryder's due back, I think. Maybe they get both. Yeah.
That'd be great. I actually think you probably do have to pay up for McRae.
Number one mid for sure.
Yeah. Big fan of the Dogs mids. Great to see him doing well. Even Dunkley. Dunkley's like,
technically he'd be number two. Yeah, he's only a point average behind, so crazy.
Yeah. So the forward line is for upgrades, I think a lot of us are just chilling at the moment, and we have the Zeeble, Impey, Warner, and Dunkley. I suppose probably we all kind of need those players, so all should have them. And then it's like, I don't know, we filled Rowe or something, and then I have Atkins, who a little bit concerning after the weekend, but still okay given the price paid. But I think the number one target, if you don't have him, a lot of people do have him, is Dusty Martin. It's just, is it too early to get him? Do you think it's too early to go for Dusty at 520 and probably coming down to 500?
I don't think it's ever too early to get him. Like, you can just probably time it. He'll be around this price all year. I think he'll obviously probably have a patch again where a couple big scores and maybe boost back up to 550 plus. But maybe that's this week. I guess we always think Dusty in the big games, Anzac Eve, Melbourne flying, probably is the one where he may go large. Really to prove himself and sort of say, how he is. We're the big dogs, but you can get it. You'll be able to get him at a reasonable price at some point. So, like you said, I think we're just chilling in the forward line now, trying to figure out. I mean, who the hell are the rest of the sort of premiums? Danger back, poor score. He'll come down and get him at some point. But past that, I mean, yeah, there's not much else really. Just sort of trying to figure out who it is.
Dusty's accumulating pretty well at the moment.
Yeah.
It's just his kicking is like he's just going for like whatever kick he wants. Like, let's pull this kick off, and it doesn't.
Dude, the game was dead, and in the fourth quarter, he was getting clearances and just whacking on the boot, like up by 10 goals. He's just like not even giving a crap, just throwing on the boot, and it was like just falling into the hands of like Hunter Clark and Nick Caulfield and stuff. So I don't know. He'll have some big games, but you'll get him at a reasonable price, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I do feel like a big game is just around the corner, though.
I mean, this week would make sense, but yeah.
There's probably one player outside of Dusty and Danger that I wouldn't mind at the moment. And later in the season, I think we'll see how Marshall goes. The one player I really like and that I wish I started, and this player I had over Atkins, but went for Atkins, was Nick Hind. So I'm a big fan of Nick Hind. I think he's in their top 3 best and fairest this year for Essendon.
Yeah,
I can't find the stat anywhere, but I'm certain that he averaged 110 plus in the VFL a few years ago, playing halfback. And I watched highlights of him on the VFL, and it's exactly the same as what he's doing now. Gets and goes in the middle of the ground, makes plays happen. Sometimes the kicks don't come off because he kicks it at such a fast, like he's running at such a fast pace. They give him the ball. They're starting to give him the ball a bit more, and his Dream Team to Supercoach ratio wasn't great in the preseason and the first game or two, but it's actually getting better for whatever reason. I'm not actually sure. I'm a fan of Nick Hind, and I can see him going somewhere in the 90s this year, still at a reasonable price. But given he doesn't take kickouts, and I don't know if he intercepts much, I can't remember, something I have to look at. But yeah, given no kickouts, that does hurt his ceiling, so he's not one that's going to hurt you, but I think he's a reasonable option at 410k, I think, and still going up. So I'm actually pretty confident in Nick Hind, and I do prefer him to Tom Atkins, just because, Geelong without Tom Atkins probably fine. Essendon without Hind is actually a big loss for them.
Yep.
Any interest in Nick Hind?
Yeah, I think they just knew that they had this guy waiting to play sort of Saad and McKenna's role when they were leaving, so they sort of knew they had this guy coming in to play those roles, and he does it awesome. He's almost just like Saad, just a right footer. He just does the exact same things, takes it on. That play on against Sydney 2 weeks ago, where he just sprinted through the middle, took about 5 running bounces, and no one could go near him. It was just, I mean, he ended up sort of stuffing the kick up, but it's just amazing how quick he is. But he looks about a 90 average, pretty much about what he is at like right now. Get him in at 412. Would you do it? I don't know. There's just so many of these annoying mid-price forwards that have sort of worked that we just sort of missed out on. Even Cozzy made 150k. And then there's a few others we'll speak about next. But yeah, Nick Hind, look, I think we just chill on the forward line for now, like we were saying. Upgrade in the mids and sort of just get more of an idea.
Yeah, for his price, I don't mind it, but I get, like, the ceiling doesn't seem super high. But yeah, maybe if he had kickouts, definitely, but that kind of hurts him a little bit. The next player we'll just quickly touch on is your man, Bailey Dale. This is an interesting one. I didn't see the game, but I think one thing to note is, he has that halfback role, but no Caleb Daniel. He scored really well. So scored about 130 on the weekend. So with Daniel coming back in this week, I'm not sure how long Bailey Williams is out for, but maybe that hurts his scoring potential. Any interest in Bailey Dale? I think he's still like 370, 380k, something like that.
He just ticked over 400 because of that big game.
Oh,
so he's
okay.
407. Crazy. I played junior footy with him. He was when he was 12 years old, he was in Vic teams. He was absolute gun as a little kid. And then it sort of, as kids grow older, they just didn't. He was always a small kid. And so he wasn't in any of the sort of, 15s, 16s. And then even 17s, he wasn't even playing TAC Cup. And he was playing ones for us at EDS, and he had a really good year. And just Stingrays just picked him up sort of for the top age year, and he played, I think, forward there all year and was kicking bags of goals and was just crazy, and just got drafted from one good top age year. And now he's playing down back. He's played these first few seasons, he was playing forward, in and out of the team, playing 8 to 10 games a year. And now he just must have had a preseason in the back line and is absolutely killing it. His marking ability is great, intercepting, and his kicking is pretty good too. I think he had 20 kicks at 90% efficiency on the weekend and 600-700 meters gained. So it looks really, really good. It's just we don't know what the sort of the players down there, Crozier just came back. Bailey Williams is now injured. Does Daniel come back in? Probably. So it's sort of can he keep this up? But he clearly looks like their best sort of player doing that role down there. Obviously, Bailey Williams is pretty good too. So I just don't know. It looks really, really good. 93 average, sort of 3-round, 100 average. Can he keep that sort of top 8, top 10 for the whole year? It's such another awkward one. Like Nick Hind, I just don't know if we can sort of jump on that. It's tough.
Dale takes kick-ins, right?
I think he takes a couple here and there, but
okay,
they're more of a sharing team. Jure, Crozier probably takes a couple, but don't know. It's really tough.
So I think not the worst option, but still a few uncertainties that you've pretty much mentioned, given all the plays down back. But it looks good though.
It's so unproven in his first 4 or 5 games in this role. It's sort of, I mean, he's killing it, but it's sort of, can we trust it sort of for the season to warrant getting him in at 400k? I don't know. I don't think so.
I'd probably go Nick Hind.
Yeah.
Just because he's he's the guy.
He's played that role, like you said, in the VFL sort of before he even got picked up. So.
Yep. And then the final guy, we kind of touched on already, Danger. Not going to worry about him till post-buy. Pretty simple. Still looks a little bit underdone. I don't think he was that great in the VFL either. But we can move on to rookies. So the first point we can make is rookies to cut right now. With the Sydney rookies, Gordon I want to hold, Warner I want to hold. They've all kind of hit a wall though, with Logan McDonald's a bit out of form as well. But Braden Campbell, I'm all for getting rid of Campbell. They're not really using him down back a whole lot. And seems to be too busy sniping people and tripping people. I got rid of him last week and I'm happy with it. But we know he has a big score in him, so he can kickstart that cash gen. But he can also lose a bit more money. Are you against or for trading Campbell?
I think he's the number one to trade. Maybe we can argue Berry is, but I mean, for people who don't know, all those 3 we mentioned, all their break evens are now in the 50s, all 3 of them. So we need especially Warner and Gooden just to have a good score this week against Gold Coast to sort of milk a bit more out of them. But Campbell, look, the only issue is, are you swinging lead mids to get Jones in, and you might be left sort of pretty slim back there, or do you wait one more week again with a 53 break even and do him to McRae next week? we got to, I mean, we're going to talk about it. There's not a lot of rookies coming up, especially mid sort of forward in the next couple of weeks. So, what would you do?
I think you can hold him for one more week, but he's one, depending on your scenario where, if you need to get Campbell to Jones, for example. As you know, you can't do that because you need to get Jones this week. Even though it might get a bit messy, I would still do it. If you got a couple worse on-field rookies for a week, I think I'm pretty positive that Jones will be a decent rookie. Yeah. And I think Campbell, I think he's ready to go.
Well, if you had to make the call, obviously this is the next guy we'll speak on, Sam Berry. Who would you go?
I'd get rid of Campbell first. I think Berry's been okay. He's just not accumulating much. He wasn't really even supposed to play round one. So until Matt Crouch went down. But I think Crows fans will be pleased with Berry. Pretty sure he keeps playing. I don't know if Nick's likes resting young players. I wouldn't have a clue. I think he keeps playing and he does some good things up forward as well. Good pressure, lots of tackles. So,
well, that may be his issue on the weekend for the 31. He did only have the one tackle after probably getting 5 a week minimum. So, I'm not sure why I didn't get more than one, but yeah.
I think it's completely fine if you want to hold Berry. Like, I have no problem at all. It's just that, I need to get rid of somebody because I've already gotten rid of Campbell. So I've got rid of Campbell. I mean, I've got rid of Berry. I'll get rid of Campbell and Berry. So I'm happy to get rid of them. I think they might make a bit more money, but I need to get a premium in this week, and that's a lot of points. Berry to Walsh for me that could be anywhere between 50 and 100 points. So I'm happy to get rid of both, but you can definitely hold. Campbell can be held for another week, I think. Maybe kickstarts that cash gen again, but Berry has a bit more money to make, but happy to cut early. The next group of players we'll speak about are the rookies on the bubble. So Lockie Jones, I think someone on Discord said they spoke to him after the game and he told them to get him in for Supercoach. Jones said to them to get him in. I can't remember who it was.
Who said that?
I can't remember. So I guess that means it has to be done. We get him in. Did you agree?
I'm getting him in. He's the number one guy this week. I'll be honest, I didn't catch that game either because that was the other Saturday night one, but only 38 dream team into 70 sort of Supercoach. Look, his role's set. For the first week, he looked set, like settled AFL player. He doesn't look out of place out there. So, I'll be happy getting him in.
Yeah, I'll be grabbing him as well. I think he hurt his ankle, so I think Kenny said he was a little bit sore, but should be fine, I assume. Played the rest of the game with the ankle knock, so that's fine. And I think he's expecting him to average like 65 because his SNFL numbers were pretty damn high. I can't remember, but it was pretty good. Bo McCreary, if I said that right, the Collingwood forward. So with De Goey out, I think only helps his job security, I assume. I don't know how long De Goey's out, but I think they want to keep playing him because they played him both. He looked pretty good to me. A few marks up the ground. I was impressed with him. It's just that it leaves the forward bench or the forward line. If we have Waterman and Rowe, then you got to play one of them every week. Probably Rowe's the one you play, but it means you're stuck with that sort of setup for the next few weeks, which I'm not sure I love. Is he someone you're looking at?
He's definitely an option if you had a downgrade in the forward line. I just don't have anyone to sort of trade out down there. But I think he's fine. Like the guy's out, and Mychek is injured as well in that game. He hurt his shoulder.
Oh, that's right.
So I think security's fine, and he's been really good. I mean, he had a few tackles, like four or five last week, and I think they were like all inside forward 50, which is what you need in a team, that sort of frontal pressure. So I think Pies fans love him. I think the coach will keep playing him. He just, can he pull out these, 2-goal sort of 50s again, or is it, like Waterman, a poor score probably will come. So if we already have Waterman, I don't think it's worth it. And like I said, there's no one really to trade out in the forward line yet. You're not going to trade Rowe out now after an 80, kickstarting some more cash from him. So I think definitely an option, totally viable. He'd be the best forward one to get, but obviously nowhere near sort of a must-have.
Yep, agree with that. And then Mansell for Richmond. I didn't mind him, and I think you were the one that said that he'd probably come out for Vlosten, and Vlosten's due in about a month.
Yeah, just not sure when Boston's due back. Yeah, so yeah, it looked good. It looked good. He's a very aggressive sort of player. Throws his body at the ball, which is what sort of probably what Dimmer loves down at Tigerland. All that sort of players do that. So he looked good. I just don't know the outlook, and Lockie Jones is there. Look, so he's the number one really in defence.
I think Lucky Jones has a bit more scoring power and long-term job security, but I think Mansell might be an okay option. It's just that Lucky Jones seems a bit more safer.
Maybe if you didn't have like say this would be the instance where you would get him over Jones if you had next to no money in the bank. You're copping a Ridley, a Houston, and you didn't have enough to go. Say Highmore doesn't play to Jones, then he's the one you get. I guess you go Highmore because you can go down to him because he's 102. That would be the only sort of circumstance I see, sort of to get Mansell. Because the 30, it's
yeah,
almost 40k from Jones, so it does help that he's a lot cheaper.
that'd be a pretty frustrating position, but your hand might be forced.
Some people may be in that position.
Yeah, I don't love it, but I'm not sure what the alternative is.
No, I definitely don't love it either, but yeah, some people may have to.
So Dev Robertson was easily best on ground in the Neefle VFL game, and he was taken off at halftime, I believe. So with Berry out, I think he comes in. I do like him. I'm not sure how long Berry's out. If Berry's out for a while, I wouldn't mind getting in Dev, to be honest. I think he'll be a good on-field option. But 170k. Any interest in Dev?
Yeah, I thought he had like 20 and a goal, 3.5, and then he looks a really good player. It's just the cash is quite a bit for him. And we want to be getting sort of more money than, say from Berry or Campbell down to him's only 50, 70k, whatever, which one you choose, so it's not a big downgrade, which is annoying. And you'd have to be fully confident in his sort of long-term sort of job security, which I guess we'll find out how long Berry is out for later in the week. But super player, obviously, we talked about him before. His talent in the junior ranks, so no, not against it at all. It's just sort of you want more cash, don't you, from a downgrade than what you'd get going to him.
I got Chapman in for 200k, and I think that was a mistake. But he was coming off an 80 and a 90, but it just hurts future upgrades. It might set me back a week, but yeah, the 170k downgrade is a little bit painful. But if I had a free trade, I'd probably do it, to be honest, but just can't really do it this week. And we'll speak about rookies coming up. So Finlay McRae looked okay, 12 touches in the last quarter, so I think they got to keep playing him. And then R2, now you watched him, I believe, and you're a fan of him, I think. Do you want to speak on him?
Yeah, so R2D2 they're calling him. Look, I watched the first half of this game before it sort of got boring and sort of was, Geelong were getting on top. But in the first quarter, he didn't do a lot. He only had a couple of touches and he was on like negative points for a while. Then he had a massive second quarter and had like 8 touches, 3 or 4 intercept marks. He looked really good overhead as well. He was taking some good marks. And the North fans love him. I just quickly jumped on Big Footy like you like to do, and they were loving him, saying this is probably our best pickup of the offseason. I think ended with 16 touches, pretty efficient. And looked settled down there because he obviously came in for Al Mack, who what did he tore his pec, didn't he, or whatever he did? He's out for a long time.
He's out for a while, yeah.
His job security looks pretty safe, especially after a good performance. So, look, obviously he's also 170. So, like we were saying with Dev, it's not a great price, but if he puts in another, 75 plus score to go with this 70 plus score, it's one to look at for sure. Because he's got that role that's very good for scoring. It's not a forward pocket. It's not a fat side wing or one of those players that can drop in poor scores. He's got a good sort of halfback role. So definitely just monitor him, see how he goes this week, and he may be an option next week.
Will be an interesting one. Definitely one to keep an eye on. Just quickly, captain options this week. I think I'm going to go, in a perfect world, I'd go Gawn into Grundy. However, I'm not sure I have a loophole, so I'm just going to go McRae into Gawn. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Can Gorney start playing like early in the round, so you don't miss his 170s. But yeah, McRae to Gawn, it worked last week. I think I'll go with that again. McRae, number one mid into the number one Supercoach player in Gawn. So just quickly, do we underappreciate Gawn and how good he is and how good he's been for like the last 5 years?
Yeah, I think so.
Like I know he gets talked about the best ruck in the comp, but it's almost like this guy. It doesn't matter what he just performs pretty much every single week, and it's almost like we're just used to it now, I guess.
He does the big impact things. Like he'll take like 3 contested marks in a quarter. He'll take intercept marks. He'll go forward. He'll go back. He'll slaughter his opponent in the hitouts. He's unbelievable.
People were sort of like, oh, damn, he's on 80 at half time, 100 by three-quarter time. What's he doing? And it's sort of like, we shouldn't get worried about that. If he's on 100 at three-quarter time, that's good because he's going to score 50 plus in the last quarter. He does it every time.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Love him. So if you don't have him, big problems, I think. But
I think those guys have sort of been found out by now. Gawney's away.
That was me last year, and I learned the hard way. So we know now. So hopefully next year is not the same mistake. I think we can wrap it up there. Yep. Thanks for joining me, Anu.
No worries, mate. Good luck this week.
You too. Hopefully a bit better luck for you this week. And
need to go in the right direction for once.
My luck might run out pretty soon, but we'll just roll with it at the moment. So thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you guys next week. Sorry, people on the phone in my house. It's probably loud.
No, I didn't hear anything. Yeah. I feel like we're always going for half an hour and then it turns into like an hour.